On today's show, the Cavs bounced back with a really nice win over the New York Knicks on Tuesday night, and Dean Wade had a big part in it. We'll talk about him in the starting lineup, Jaylon Tyson's night, and James Harden not getting to the free throw line anymore. That's all straight ahead on this edition of Locked On Cavs.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi again, everybody. My name is Danny Cunningham, and I cover the Cleveland Cavaliers over at my Substack, The Inside Shot, and you're listening to another edition of Locked On Cavs, a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network in all of America. You can find this show and any other Locked On podcasts anywhere you get them. It's Apple, that is Spotify, that is on YouTube as well. So if you're watching this video right now on YouTube, please do us a favor, hit that thumbs up button and click that notification bell if you haven't already, and make sure you're subscribed wherever you might be listening to this show. On this edition of Locked On Cavs, we will be talking about the Cavs taking down the New York Knicks thanks to a fantastic defensive effort team-wide from the Cavs. Also, Jaylon Tyson having a nice night, and I think in part because of a coaching decision that Kenny Atkinson made. And we will also talk about James Harden somehow just not getting to the free throw line anymore. But I want to begin with the game itself and the defensive effort that the Cavs put forth. So they beat the Knicks 109-94 in what I thought was one of the best defensive efforts that the Cavs have had so far this season. And I think a shining example of why Kenny Atkinson has opted to put Dean Wade in the starting lineup. And I understand that things didn't go very well on Sunday with that group. And I think part of their offensive struggles was, one, obviously not taking care of the basketball. When you have 10 turnovers in your first 17 possessions, the way the Cavs did against the Thunder on Sunday, I don't necessarily know that it matters who's out there. Like, you're just not going to find offensive success. But defensively, this is the group that I think has the highest upside for the Cavs. And you've got Jared Allen out there, who was awesome for most of this game. Evan Mobley, who is, I think, showing signs that he's starting to find his rhythm. Thought he was better in the second half than the first half, but like, he's always really good defensively. And then Dean Wade is somebody that maybe doesn't get the credit that he deserves as an elite level defender. And if you listen to this podcast, you know how I feel about him. And you know that I do think that this starting lineup is the right decision. And I think we saw why in this game on Tuesday night. So Dean Wade opens up the game as the primary defender for Jalen Brunson. And I don't have the tracking data as of right now to really go over it, but he spent a lot of time defending Brunson. And Jalen Brunson struggled again against the Cavs. So Brunson finished with 20 points, which did lead the Knicks, on 6 of 19 shooting in 36 minutes. He had 2 turnovers, only had 4 assists, was 3 of 7 from deep, only got to the line 7 times. So the fact that he was 3 of 7 of deep, and I believe at least one of them came on a second chance attempt too, that means that he was 3 of 12 inside the arc, which, if you watch a lot of Jalen Brunson, you know he likes to get to those spots, right? He's sort of a throwback player in a sense that he sort of loves that, like, 15-footer to 13-footer, like that type of shot that's in the mid-range that you don't see a ton of in the NBA. Jalen Brunson makes a killing on that in today's game. And Dean Wade just did a great job. And it wasn't only Dean. Like, other guys I thought did a very good job defensively on him. Dennis Schroeder did an awesome job when he defended him too. And just really whoever was defending Jalen Brunson, I thought for the most part did a very good job. And I think that's the biggest reason why the Cavs won this game. Because if Jalen Brunson doesn't have it going on, the Knicks are going to struggle offensively unless they get some outlier performance like we saw on Christmas Day. Because this is not some new thing for the Cavs against the Knicks. This year, in all 3 matchups, Jalen Brunson has struggled offensively against Cleveland. Now, the Knicks are 2-1, and ultimately winning the game is the only thing that matters. But he was 6 of 19 on Tuesday night. On Christmas Day, he was 10 of 25. On opening night, he was 5 of 18. For the season, that is 21 of 62 from the floor against the Cavs. That is 33.8%. The Cavs right now, and like, the Cavs lost on opening night because they could not get into the paint. Like, the Knicks did a really good job defensively, and the Cavs lost on Christmas Day in part because they couldn't get a rebound in part because Tyler Kolek, who basically was a DNP-CD. I mean, he played garbage time, 2 minutes and 42 seconds, and Jordan Clarkson, who played 1 minute in this game, because those 2 guys who are not in the rotation for the Knicks anymore torched them. Like, they've done such a good job this year as a whole defending Jalen Brunson, and this was the latest example of it. And part of the reason why I think that Cavs fans should be confident if the Cavs and Knicks square off in the playoffs, because they've got guys they can throw at Brunson. And it wasn't just Dean Wade. As I mentioned, Dennis Schroeder did a good job. Keon Ellis, I think, is really built to defend Jalen Brunson with the length that he has, even if he is giving up a few pounds. Like, I look at all of this and say the Cavs have a defensive formula that works against the Knicks. They just need to be able to rebound. And if you listen to this show, the preview edition of the show with Gavin Shaw that came out on Tuesday, and I know that there is a Spotify issue going on right now, so some of you might be listening to this on YouTube that normally listen on Spotify. It's a network-wide thing. It's not just Locked on Cavs, and I can assure you we are trying to get it fixed. But like, I look at this matchup, and I know I talked about this with Gavin, as the way for the Knicks to beat the Cavs is with Mitchell Robinson, because they need to create second chances to beat the Cavs. And New York is a great offensive team. I believe they're third in offensive rating, or at least they were third in offensive rating entering this game in the NBA, and the Cavs held them to 94 points. And part of that was the Knicks were in their third game in 4 nights, and did they have tired legs? Sure, but like, this was the 4th game in 6 nights for the Cavs. They're exhausted too. So I do think that the rest factor of this was kind of equal, all things considered. So that to me just really points to what the Cavs did defensively. And I think it's a very, very encouraging thing, because they are very clearly still working things out offensively. And I thought Donovan Mitchell was okay in this game offensively. He was 5 of 18. I thought that he looked tired a little bit, honestly. And that, again, 4th game in 6 nights, and he's played a lot of minutes. And obviously, like, those things are going to catch up with you. James Harden not getting to the free throw line is unbelievable, and we'll talk about that coming up in segment number 3. But the Cavs offensively will be better than they were in this game. And maybe this is a low point offensively for the Knicks too, if you want to be fair about things. But these are the types of performances that I look at as a really good sign for the Cavs, because when push comes to shove, and the reason why I think that the starting lineup that was out there on Tuesday night is the correct one for the Cavs, and not one that includes Jaylon Tyson or Sam Merrill, even though I think, like, in a vacuum, those guys might be better basketball players than Dean Wade. But because the Cavs need to lean into defensive upside. They are a team that when they play defense the way they play defense on Tuesday night, I don't know how many teams in the NBA are capable of beating them. Like, there are teams that can, certainly. The New York Knicks are not one of them. I don't know that the Detroit Pistons are one of them. I don't know that anyone in the Eastern Conference, Boston Celtics, go on down the list. I don't know that any of those teams are capable of beating the Cavs when they have a defensive night like they had on Tuesday night. And did the Knicks shoot under their expected percentage? Sure. But like, the Cavs did a great job of limiting the quality looks they got. And I think one of the things that, aside from Brunson going 6 of 19, one of the things that tells me they were really good defensively is Karl-Anthony Towns' stat line. And I think that if the Cavs square off against the Knicks in a playoff series, Karl Towns is going to not have a good time in it. I don't think he can stay on the floor defensively. And like, in this game, Towns had 14 points. He was a perfect 5 of 5 shooting. So you might be thinking, what are you talking about? It does not get more efficient than that. And you would be right. But he only took 5 shots. The Knicks are not able to generate a high enough frequency, and they have this problem against other teams too. This is not a Cavs specific issue for them, but it is an issue the Cavs present. They cannot, when the Cavs have Evan Mobley on the floor, when they've got Jared Allen on the floor, when they have the defensive lineups, especially where they were able to, I think, use quickness and strength from some undersized guys, right? Like, we saw Jaylon Tyson defending Karl-Anthony Towns. And part of the reason why Towns is such a dynamic and good offensive player is because, one, he is an excellent shooter as a big man, right? Like, he has said that he's the greatest big man shooter of all time. Not sure that I'm going to go all the way there, but he is the self-proclaimed one. So he is able to use that skill against bigs that aren't all that mobile. And he's also got decent speed. I think that he has taken a step back in that category. And that's why you've seen him called for so many offensive fouls. And I mean, he's often called for offensive fouls. That's been really a dark spot in his career the entire time he's been in the NBA. So that's not necessarily new, but the Cavs bigs have an ability to both defend him on the perimeter and are more athletic than him. And that presents a really tough matchup for the Knicks, because their guy that should be an X factor in Towns, that should be a game changer, is not able to find success against the Cavs. And again, he made all 5 shots that he took. But if you're the Cavs and you read this box score and say everybody that played in the rotation for the Knicks, except for Jeremy Sohan, took as many shots as Karl-Anthony Towns. I think you're pretty happy with that if you're the Cavs. Like, of the starting five, I talked about Brunson. He took 19 shots. Mikal Bridges took 17 shots in this game. Mikal Bridges is a good player. I don't think he's a guy that if you were the Knicks, you want taking 17 shots. Josh Hart took 11 shots. He was 4 of 11. I know his percentage from three is good. I know that he has I think he is kind of like Isaac Okoro in that way. I think he shoots a better percentage from beyond the arc than he actually is a shooter, if that makes sense. And I think if you watch Josh Hart, he's not all that confident in his shooting. So I think the Cavs having him take 8 threes, like if you look at this Knicks roster and you build for if you look at the Cavs defensively, how they would want things to play out, Jalen Brunson is going to lead the team in field goal attempts. I don't know how many things there are you can do about that, but to limit him to below 33% from the floor is a huge win. But after that, if you look at it and say, okay, well, if you could pick two somebodies to be second and third in attempts, you would probably pick in the starting five. You would pick Mikal Bridges and Josh Hart. Like, I think the Cavs would rather see Mikal Bridges take 17 shots than OG Anunoby. They would certainly prefer to see Josh Hart be the team leader for New York in three-point attempts. And Karl Towns, again, made every shot that he took. The fact that the Knicks were only able to generate 5 shots for him, like, if he makes them, he makes them. But the fact that they limited his attempts, and this is a big thing, I think, with three-point defense that, isn't applicable tonight, but I think it's just like a good comparison here. Sometimes you can't control whether or not teams are going to make shots. Sometimes teams are going to have great shooting nights. It's going to happen from time to time. But the thing that teams feel they can control and do a little bit better of a job controlling is how many three-point attempts a team is able to generate. That almost speaks to doing a better job defensively than the percentage shot against you. And I think it's sort of similar with Towns. If you told Kenny Atkinson, hey, Karl-Anthony Towns is not going to miss a shot that he takes in this game, he might have a little bit of a worried look on his face at first. And then you tell him, but he's only going to take 5 shots. That's a big win for the Cavs. It doesn't matter that he made all 5 shots that he took. The fact they were able to limit him, and then they were able to shut down Jalen Brunson and do a really good job on everybody else. Like, this was, I think, as impressive of a defensive performance as I've seen from the Cavs this year. The other game that sticks out is Charlotte, but I look at that game, and part of it was the Cavs, they did a good job defensively in that game in Charlotte weeks ago, not the most recent game, the second most recent game. But the Hornets missed a lot of really good shots. I don't know that the Knicks missed a ton of good shots. I thought that this was, more than anything for the Cavs, really, really good defense. I talked about Jared Allen. I thought he was really good in this game. So he finished with 19 points on 7 of 8 shooting, 5 of 7 at the line, had 10 rebounds, had a block, had a steal. He was good in this game, save for, I think, one stint. The first half stint he played against Mitchell Robinson, I did not think Allen was good. Robinson grabbed a couple of offensive rebounds, and he finished with 8 offensive rebounds in this game. But the second stint against Robinson, I thought Allen played so much better. And I thought when Towns was on the floor, Jared Allen was really good. Like, overall, of the 28 minutes that he played in this game, 23 or 24 of them, I thought were really, really good. And I think you will take that. Now, they do need to do a better job of limiting the Mitchell Robinson offensive rebounds, because 8 of them in a playoff game, like, if you look at this and say, if this were a playoff game and Mitchell Robinson gets 8 offensive rebounds, that's a scary thing. But I also look at it and say the Knicks only scored 94 points in a game in which Mitchell Robinson alone got 8 offensive rebounds. And then as for Evan Mobley, he finished with 12 points, had 7 boards, played just under 25 minutes in this game. Thought his first half was not great. I thought he looked much better in the second half. Like, I do think that, and this has been true, I think, at all of the games that we have seen since he has come back from this, really since the All-Star break, since he came back from this calf injury. I think that in all 3 games he has played, so Brooklyn, OKC, and then Tuesday night against New York, I think he has started slow and found his rhythm in the second half. Now, against the Nets, like, he only played 20 minutes. He was on a minutes restriction, and it was a thing where, they were winning by 43 at one point, so he wasn't going to play more. But I look at this and say, I think he's starting to find his rhythm. What he looks like early in the game, What he looks like early in the game on Friday against Detroit, I think will be interesting. I would not be surprised if he does not play against the Milwaukee Bucks on Wednesday night. I think that could make some sense to rest him. Now, Kenny Atkinson made a change. It wasn't to the starting lineup, but he made a change on Tuesday night that I think was important, that I think is something that needs to stick. I'll tell you what it was. We'll talk about why it was like that next right here on Locked On Cavs. But first, today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? Well, FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into a reality with their NBA Finals sweepstakes. Yeah, that's right. So here's how it works. You use Profit Boost on any two NBA futures, and you automatically will be entered to win a shot at an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right. Flights, tickets, the whole experience with the NBA Finals. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team could maybe make a deep run, now is the time to lock it in with FanDuel. All you got to do, go to FanDuel, the sportsbook on your phone, or FanDuel.com. That is FanDuel.com today. Go over to the conference, go to NBA Finals, where I look at the conference, pull it up right now. Your Cleveland Cavaliers. Wow, these are as short of odds as I have seen. Your Cleveland Cavaliers, after knocking off the New York Knicks in the fashion in which they did on Tuesday night, are the favorites to come out of the Eastern Conference at plus 300. I've not seen odds that short since the day of the trade deadline. Also, the New York Knicks have fallen to plus 450. I don't think there's a lot of belief, and I don't think there should be. I'm not a big believer in the Knicks, but they are plus 450 to win these. Cavs are the favorites at plus 300. So if you believe in that, you can put something down on FanDuel, use your Profit Boost, and you'll be entered to win the sweepstakes. So visit FanDuel.com. That is FanDuel.com today to get started. Use your Profit Boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thank you again for making today's edition of Locked On Cavs your first watch on YouTube or your first listen wherever you might be getting your podcast. And if you do listen to Locked On Cavs every single day, well, then the Everydayer Club might be for you. Yeah, that's right. You get ad-free versions of Locked On Cavs, plus access to an exclusive Discord server with Cavs fans like you and fans of every NBA team where you can chat and hang out all the time. So Kenny Atkinson made an important decision, and he said it was a feel thing on Tuesday night. And that decision was shortening the rotation. So if you look at up the box score, everybody that was active but Larry Nance Jr. played in this game because the Cavs had a sizable lead late in the game. They were up by, I believe, 19 when they emptied the bench. However, only 9 guys played when the game was still within the balance. So the starting 5, as we talked about, was James Harden, Donovan Mitchell, Dean Wade, Evan Mobley, and Jared Allen. And then the 4 guys that played off the bench were Sam Merrill, Dennis Schroeder, Keon Ellis, and Jaylon Tyson. And I talked about this on yesterday's podcast, that it is very important that the Cavs figure out the Jaylon Tyson thing. He has been too good for this team, and I think he is too important to not only this team, but the future of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Like, for them to sustain the level of success that they are at, not this year, but in years that are ahead, financial decisions are going to be made. And Jaylon Tyson, on a rookie scale contract, is an extremely valuable player. At a certain point, he's not going to be on a rookie scale contract, and they will have to, for lack of a better way to phrase this, replace that cheap labor, because that's what he is by NBA standards. He is cheap labor, making what he's making right now as the number 20 overall pick. And then you look at the box score against OKC, and he plays less than 16 minutes. And this is a guy that, we are about a little over a month removed from him scoring 39 points in a game. And the question that I have asked myself rhetorically a lot over the course of this year, especially when things were not great, where would this Cavs team be without Jaylon Tyson? And I don't think anyone wants to know the actual answer to that, because he's been that important to the success of the Cavs so far this season. So I do think it's a very important thing for the Cavs to figure this out. They need Jaylon Tyson to have a bigger role than what he has had since the trades have been made. Well, against the Knicks, he played almost 27 minutes, which was the 4th most on the team. Played less than Harden. Donovan Mitchell played 31 minutes, and Jared Allen played just under 29 minutes. But he played the most off the bench, played more than Dean, played more than Evan Mobley. And again, like, he's not going to play more than Evan Mobley when Evan is not on a minutes restriction. And I believe that Evan's minutes restriction was around 28 minutes in this game. And had the Cavs not emptied the bench, like, he would have played the last 3 or 4 minutes that he did not play, and that would have gotten him there. But he finished get 24 minutes and 30 seconds. So they are not going to have Tyson play more than him. But while I'm in favor of Dean Wade being in the starting lineup, I don't think necessarily that Dean Wade should be playing more minutes than Jaylon Tyson. And those are two different things in different discussions. Tyson got more minutes in this game, partially because he played better, right? Like he did not play that well against Oklahoma City. And I think that's part of the reason why he only played 15 minutes and some change in that game. And in this game, he played better. Like he didn't shoot it all that well from beyond the arc, but he had 12 points on 5 of 10 shooting. Again, missed 3 of the 4 threes that he took, but he had 8 rebounds, had a couple of assists, had a steal, had a block. Like he did a lot of really good things. I thought his activity levels on both ends of the floor were really high. And this was, as Kenny Atkinson said after the game, this was the blueprint for Jaylon. This is who the Cavs need him to be. They're not going to need him to go out and score 25 a game in the playoffs. They've got James Harden now to do that. They've got Donovan Mitchell to do that. They hope Evan Mobley can get to the point where he can do that. They don't need him to be the best shooter in the NBA the way that he has been for most of this year. Again, they've got Donovan Mitchell to do that. They've got James Harden, who hit 4 threes in this game. They've got Sam Merrill. Dean Wade hit 3 of 5 threes. Like they've got enough shooting in other spots where, yes, he needs to be a good shooter, but he doesn't need to hit 5 of them in a game. But they need him to be the guy he was on Tuesday night, where he can be a defensive presence, where he can be a guy offensively that makes the right play. And like he got back to in the one floater he missed was a horrible miss. Made another floater over Mitchell Robinson that I thought may have scraped the championship banner in the rafters. It went so high. But this was the role that he should be in. And in order for that to happen, Kenny Atkinson needed to cut somebody out of the rotation. So they played 9 instead of playing 10, which even when the Cavs were beat up and missing so many guys, Atkinson still really leaned into playing 10 guys. Like if Dean Wade were out, you would see someone get those minutes. Or if Evan Mobley or Jared Allen is out, like you're seeing someone pick up those minutes. He's not downsizing his rotation or shrinking his rotation, I guess would be a better way to phrase it. He's not doing that. And he did that on Tuesday night. Naquan Tomlin was the guy that, like the most recent guy from the rotation that did not play in this game. And I think at least not while the game was within the balance. He did play the final 3 minutes. But this was the right decision, I think. Now, Naquan has been really good for the Cavs this year. He's done a lot of really good things. He has been somebody that I think has shown he has a future in the NBA. He went out there and he earned a standard contract. There's no doubt about that. He should be on a standard deal, and like he has played well enough to justify that. But he's also not somebody that I look at and say, you know what, Naquan needs to be in the playoff rotation. He's not. Now, do I think if somebody's in foul trouble and the Cavs need 3 minutes of energy and a half, should Naquan Tomlin be a guy tapped with doing that? Does that suit his style? Absolutely it does. Do I think that Naquan Tomlin might have a bigger role on this team next year than he does right now? Absolutely I do. But right now, that's not what the Cavs need. The Cavs need Jaylon Tyson to be Jaylon Tyson. They need Naquan Tomlin to be available and be that break glass in case of emergency energy option. But he's not somebody they should have in their playoff rotation. They've got right now, I don't want to say an embarrassment of riches, but they've got guys on the bench that we know can play. Like we know Naquan Tomlin is an NBA player. We know Craig Porter Jr. can play. We know Thomas Bryant is a serviceable backup big who I think has had a really good year for the Cavs. But there's not room for everybody. Everybody can't be at their best if the rotation is, I think, as big as it has been. And when Max Strus gets back, it's going to be another issue, right? And Kenny did give an update on Max Strus and said that he is progressing really well, that he has started to do some contact stuff with coaches in practice. So that's a step in the right direction. And we will see, when a return date for Max is. The Cavs do have 4 days off coming up after after the Detroit game next Tuesday, a week from now. So maybe that's an opportunity to start bringing Max back at that point, but we will again have to wait and see. But right now, with how the Cavs are built, I think this is a rotation that should be at 9 guys. And because the Cavs need to get more out of Jaylon Tyson than what they had gotten out of Jaylon Tyson previously, I think that cutting Naquan Tomlin out of the rotation so that there are, 10 more minutes to spread around probably does make the Cavs better. Even if Naquan Tomlin has been good, Jaylon Tyson's been better, and I think Jalen needs some of those minutes. So I think it was a wise decision by Kenny Atkinson that he said was a feel thing. Like he said, he planned to play 10, but they were playing well, and he made the change to the rotation during the game, and I think it was the right change for him to make. Now, James Harden has been really good, and he was good in this game. Had 20 points on 8 of 18 shooting, hit 4 threes, had only 4 assists, which was odd, but he's been really good. The thing he has not done has been so strange to me, and that he's just not shooting free throws anymore, and it's not his fault. We'll talk about it next right here on Locked On Cavs. But first, today's show is brought to you by Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position that you have to fill is still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute that I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Plus, listeners of the show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Again, just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Again, that is Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions do apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Thank you again for making this edition of Locked On Cavs your first watch on YouTube or your first listen anywhere you might get your podcast. And James Harden did something he has done very few times throughout his career on Tuesday night. And that is James Harden played over 30 minutes a game in this game and did not one single time attempt a free throw. And this has happened prior to Tuesday night. I believe it has been 3 times before tonight that he played 32 minutes or more and did not attempt a single free throw in a game. And I know that fans of other teams at times have been frustrated watching Harden do some of the foul baiting stuff that he has done before and get to the line. And I know that Cavs fans on Tuesday night were frustrated with the whistle that Jalen Brunson received, and some of the calls that he got. And he did not deserve to get to the line 7 times. And he had a couple of ball don't lie free throw misses in this game. Did he get fouled a couple of times? Sure. He did not get fouled 7 free throw attempt times. Well, James Harden, I don't think has done a lot of the foul baiting stuff so far with the Cavs. And I think part of that is because he's been much more of a facilitator in this role than maybe he has been before. And that's because he's got Donovan Mitchell alongside him, who for the most part has been awesome. Again, Donovan didn't have a great night in this game, but I don't look at that as some big deal. But James isn't getting calls that he has gotten for the entirety of his career. Like the one play in fast break, Jalen Brunson so clearly fouled him, and James doesn't get free throw attempts. It's out of bounds Cavs ball. I'm not sure Jalen touched the basketball on that play. Got a lot of James's forearm, but I don't know that he actually touched the basketball. Now, should James have gotten to the line 14 times in this game the way Donovan Mitchell did? No, probably not. Should he have gotten the line 4 to 6 times? Probably. And it is wild to me that James, who has gotten to the free throw line so well throughout his career, and it is a skill. Like Jalen Brunson is good at it. Donovan Mitchell is good at it. Few guys in the history of the NBA have been as good or better than James Harden at it. And now, and I realize that this is a small sample size, and who knows, maybe on Wednesday night against Milwaukee, James will go out there and shoot 15 free throws. I don't know. But since he's been in Cleveland, it just does not feel like the whistle that he was getting in LA or that he got in Philly or Brooklyn or Houston or OKC back in the day. Doesn't feel like that's translated to Cleveland for whatever reason. I was sitting here when the Cavs traded for him to expect some of these Cavs games to get a little bit longer, because I thought, the Cavs are going to be a team that start shooting more free throws. And they did take 30 of them. And again, Donovan Mitchell took 14 of them. But for them to take 30 free throws in a game and James Harden not get a single one, I was befuddled. I could not believe it. Like watching him not get some of the calls that he's gotten, while guys on the other end, or even Donovan Mitchell getting calls that we're used to seeing James Harden get, was kind of wild to me. Overall, like I thought Harden played well. He had 20 points. Again, 8 of 18 shooting, was 4 of 7 from 3, hit a couple of big threes. And like I think one of the defining moments of this game was Harden drives to the basket. I thought was clearly fouled, does not get a whistle. Kind of cherry picks a little bit. Cavs get a stop on the other end, and he gets a wide open 3-pointer from the right corner in transition. He makes it. It puts the Cavs up by 14. And then he just like stares at the ref. And I think all of Cleveland in that moment felt what James Harden was doing, because we have all watched a lot of James Harden basketball. A lot of it hasn't been for the Cavs. This was only, I believe, his 8th game in Cleveland. And we've seen him get calls over and over and over again. So it's kind of wild to me to watch him go out there and play and still play well and not get the whistle that we have watched him get really throughout his entire career. It's been one of the craziest things that I certainly did not expect when the Cavs made the trade for him. Now, the Cavs are back in action on Wednesday night, taking on the Milwaukee Bucks. It is their 5th game in 7 nights. It is the second night of a back-to-back for the Bucks, who did beat the Miami Heat on Tuesday night. I would be surprised if everybody for the Cavs played in this game. I don't know that for sure, but I would be surprised if Donovan Mitchell played, I would be surprised if Evan Mobley plays in this game. With him being on a minutes restriction, I think it makes sense coming off of that injury for him to maybe not play. If Donovan Mitchell doesn't play in this game, I wouldn't be stunned by it. I would not be like, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. I don't know, but I would not be surprised if this is an opportunity that the Cavs have looked at, and they have planned these things out in advance. Like it's not just, flip a coin, heads he plays, tails he doesn't type of thing. But with this being their 5th game in 7 nights, with the burden Donovan has had to carry, not necessarily lately as much with James in town, but earlier this season, I think that this is a good spot for him to get some rest. And if you take a look at the schedule, that game against Detroit on Friday is a really big game. And without Donovan Mitchell against the Bucks on Wednesday, Cavs should still be favored in that game. They should still have enough to win. And if the Cavs can get arrested Donovan Mitchell going into Friday's game in Detroit, I think that would be a really, really important thing, because that game against Detroit is a big one for the Cavs. So I would not be surprised if Donovan does not play against Milwaukee. I would be surprised if Evan Mobley plays against Milwaukee. Everybody else, I think, probably will play, but we will have to wait and see. But those are the two that I look and say, I'm not so sure that they're going to play against the Bucks on Wednesday night. But that's going to do it for this edition of Locked On Cavs. I will have a preview episode of the game against the Milwaukee Bucks on Wednesday. It'll hit your feeds late morning on Wednesday. Camille Davis from Locked On Bucks stops by. We talk about a lot of Bucks stuff and some Cavs stuff too. We do talk about the James Harden edition. So you're going to want to make sure you're subscribed wherever you might be listening to this, whether that's Apple, hopefully that's Spotify too. Hopefully Spotify gets back again. If you're normally a Spotify listener, maybe you're listening on YouTube now, there's an issue. The podcast network is dealing with it across the network. It's not just Locked On Cavs. We are trying to get it sorted out. But if you're subscribed, or if you're not subscribed, please make sure you are subscribed. And if you're watching on YouTube as we get out of here, please do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button for me, click the notification bell, and make sure you're subscribed. And I will be back a little bit later on talking more about the Cleveland Cavaliers.